What's up? Okay, so we're back. Fights are back. Um, Cannot wait to talk about this fight card. I hope everyone is keeping well. It's been, I don't know what it's been, like 3 weeks since we did a podcast. 2 weeks because there hasn't really been any fights, and kind of been working on some other things behind the scenes. Sounds cool when you say that, but yeah, this fight card was the way I'm going to do it from now on is immediately, or at least within the few hours after the fight card, I'm going to do the podcast. I think it's just better that way for immediate reaction and things like that. So I got an immediate reaction about this fight card. It was absolutely insane, especially the main event, which I cannot wait to talk about. Yeah, just hope everyone is well. Hope you've all had a good Christmas, good New Year, all of that stuff. You're smashing whatever goals you have and all that, or you're setting some good goals for yourselves and all of that crap. But yeah, hope you're all good. Please keep liking the videos, sharing them and all that. We seem to be kind of picking up followers and stuff like that, which is good. It's good to see, so hopefully it keeps happening. A lot of good things coming up over the next while. Yeah, really hoping to boost the podcast and the page and stuff this year. But obviously, like I've said 100 times, slow process. So yeah, just hope you keep enjoying the podcast and things. The side note before I get into the fights, as I said, it's going to be pretty much every Sunday from now on when we're going to do the immediate reaction after the fights. It's Sunday here in New Zealand, obviously, but yeah, I think it's just better that way. So it's an immediate reaction. I prefer that. Yeah, it's just easier for me as well. This week there is a fight card on Wednesday in New Zealand time, so probably do all of them together on Sunday. Because that fight card, and you've got the big McGregor fight card, which we'll talk about later. But also, see on the Instagram, there's a lot of different things happening between personal training side of things and stuff like that. I've spoken to people before about that I'm doing a personal training course, but you see there is more stuff coming up on that. And also, which I have said a million times, but that I am going to start doing stuff outside of just the MMA and the sports based side of things. So every Friday there'll be probably 2 podcasts a week now, and every Friday I'm just going to do a podcast kind of based on what's been happening that week. Yeah, just talk about some other stuff other than just sports and MMA. I'm sure it'll probably creep in on that podcast too, but yeah, I've always wanted to do it, so there's a lot of other things I want to talk about too, rather than just MMA side of things. I've done some things based on movies and stuff like that, so kind of along those lines, it'll be what's been happening in the world that week, and I'll just pick up, whether it's a funny subject or a serious subject, whatever it may be, we'll talk about a few things on that podcast. Yeah, so that'll be probably every Friday. We'll shoot it on a Friday, probably be up that night, or Saturday morning, something like that. But yeah, it'll be, as I have said 100 times, it'll be a lot more regular, a lot more consistent, kind of going up on the same day and stuff like that. So yeah, stay with us, keep supporting us and all that kind of stuff. As I said 100 times as well, that I'm enjoying this, and I'm enjoying it the more I do it, and there is more things we're getting to do now, especially along, as I said, the personal training side of things. Yeah, so exciting stuff coming. Yeah, anyway, let's get into the fights. There is a little bit of news outside of this fight card, but I'm going to get straight into it, and I'll talk about the other stuff a little later, because I have a lot to get off my chest with this. So obviously this is the first fight of the year, or first fight card, try again. First fight card of the year. Clearly I've been away from talking for a while. So yeah, this was, I know I say this a lot as well about, I'm not such a boxing fan, but like UFC and MMA, they're just doing it right. They never ever let you down, no matter what the card is, who's on it. It rarely fails you. And this was another example. So I'm going to run through all the fights here as usual, starting with the prelims all the way down to the main event. So the prelims weren't as exciting as the main card, but there was a couple of fights which I have to mention. One being the Jacob Kilburn and Austin Lingo fight. two relatively small names, but new guys. A very good fight. Decision went to Austin Lingo. He was very good, but it was a pretty entertaining back and forth fight. That's worth giving a mention. And then moving down, Cyril Moraes got a win. Cyril Moraes lost via decision. Skipping down, what else? Oh yes, the one I wanted to talk about was the Justin Tafa and Carlos Felipe fight, which was an excellent fight. Heavyweights, just pretty much a kickboxing / boxing fight. There was I think there's probably one or two barely takedown attempts. These two just smashed each other for 3 rounds. For the 3 rounds, basically just smashed each other. First round was kind of a bit of a slow burner, but still not boring, and then it just picked up from the second round on, and they didn't stop. They just absolutely swung for the bleachers. But Carlos Felipe got the decision, which I didn't 100% agree with, but it was a very close fight, so not necessarily a robbery or anything like that. And to be fair, I don't think either guy really would, went away losing any fans or anything like that. If anything, this fight they both would have gained, but very good fight, a lot of respect at the end of it. Carlos Felipe is an interesting character. He likes to do a lot of talking in the cage, loves to come forward and throw bombs, and Justin Tafa as well is the same, a little more calm, a little more kind of counter striking, but oh man, these two just threw bombs for that. And I haven't heard who's getting the bonuses or anything like that yet. I haven't looked at the post-fight press conference just yet, but I'll get a look at that later. It doesn't really matter. I'd imagine that those boys got some sort of a bonus. Then moving on, I'm just going to move on now to the main card, which was, oh my god, just I want to skip ahead and start talking about Max Holloway already, but I won't yet. Yeah, there was 3 knockouts in a row, the first 3 fights on this card, which is insane. But the first one was Soriano versus Dusko Todorovic, won via KO in the first round. It was a good fight too. There again, swinging for the fences as the fight started, but Soriano getting the knockout there. But moving on, sorry, I'm rushing through some of these fights because there's a lot to talk about towards the end. Joaquin Buckley, who's all the hype and the talk has been behind because of his crazy knockout, back spinning kick. Came up against it, he got knocked out with a heavy head kick by Alessio Di Chirico, I think is how you pronounce it. He's an Italian, I believe. Italy's starting to kind of get some fighters into the UFC at last. But yeah, it was a horrendous head kick. It kind of caught Buckley. Buckley was kind of ducking into it, and he caught him right on the side of the dome, hard, caught him clean with his shin. Put Buckley out cold. He landed a couple of shots after that too, but the head kick finished him, which kind of slows down the hype train of Joaquin Buckley. But look, these things happen. That's what happens when there's this kind of a crazy viral knockout. Although it's great, you gotta wait and see what happens when he fights the upper tier guys. Not that, I'm still kind of surprised that Di Chirico beat him, but yeah, kind of slows down that hype train, unfortunately, for a lot of people who believe in all the hype in Joaquin Buckley. But it's not gonna affect his career path too much. He's still young in the game. Still has some crazy knockouts, on his record, so. But it does slow it down a little bit. A lot of guys like that though, Lost does them very good. Go back to the drawing board and improve where he thinks he has to improve, and yeah. But great win for Alessio. Because that's it, not a huge name, but it's a pretty big name considering all the hype that's been behind Buckley. So yeah, smashing head kick. That definitely go on the. Is it knockout of the night? I don't know. There's a few others as well. Then moving on, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Li Jingliang. Jiang Lang, I think is how he pronounced it. Ponzinibbio has been out with injury on and off for the last, I think it's been like 2 years. Great fighter, but yeah, it's just he's been out for so long, and Lee is not. He's not an easy opponent. But Ponzinibbio is one of these guys who's kind of flying under the radar too. I think he's had a 7-fight win streak before this one, but just had some really bad injuries the last while and came back, and they didn't feed him any easy ones, you know. He got knocked out unfortunately towards the end of the first round, but yeah, that's just how it is, you know. Hopefully he'll come back stronger, and yeah, it's tough, and it's hard not to feel bad for him because he has, as I said, he has been out with injuries on and off. Yeah, but good win for Lee, you know, Lee Jingling. It's a good performance by him. He's a tough opponent for anybody as well, like, so Ponzinibbio can't really feel too bad either. But yeah, so moving on again, we have the fight of the two legends, Carlos Condit and Matt the Immortal Brown, which was actually a really good fight as well. Went all 3 rounds. I'm a very, very big Matt Brown fan, but I do not dislike Carlos Condit. Guy's been doing it for a long, long time. But both of them good in this fight. Like very early on, Condit won by decision, of course, but very early on, Brown got cut. He took Condit down, and he got cut. He kind of grazed himself off the fence, kind of opened up his head a bit, but the judges scored it because they scored all 3 rounds to Condit, which I don't agree with, but I do think Condit won the fight. I think he won it probably, 2 rounds to 1, but they scored it all. You see it kind of at the end of the fight when it's announced. Matt Brown wasn't happy, but I think Brown won the first round. Another round was, I would have given it to Condit, but the judges are just a fight card does not go by these days without some sort of irritating decision from these judges. But again, does it really matter whether you lose 3 rounds to 0 or 2 rounds to 1? You still lose, you know. But I think Brown was a little unhappy with when the score was announced afterwards. But it was a good fight. It's good to see those two guys in it again. I would imagine neither of them have too much left. I know Matt Brown had been discussing when he fought Diego Sanchez. It's about 3 fights ago, maybe 2 fights ago possibly. I can't remember for sure, but that was kind of supposed to be his retirement fight. So I'm sure he's there or thereabouts. Great character though. Matt Brown is like very I'm trying to say is Matt Brown. He's a lot smarter than people may think. And that's not to insult Matt Brown, but if you listen to him on Joe Rogan or any other interviews or stuff like that, he's very, very well spoken, very smart guy, very interesting in kind of the theories he comes up with and things he likes to talk about, and a bit like one of the stories he talked about on Joe Rogan was that he was almost dead from an overdose, kind of kind of in the early stages of fighting, not in the UFC now, but in his early days. He lived kind of a crazy life, but it's an animal, absolute animal. Really tough guy, a very interesting character, and a legend of the sport, as is Carlos Condit. Condit again looked really good in this fight. I think the only difference was really like Matt Brown was looking quite good with his takedowns and stuff like that, but Condit then, I think Brown got a little bit tired kind of towards the end, because Condit is the way he fights. The two of them are so different. Brown is very ferocious, kind of vicious in the way he fights. Really Muay Thai kind of striker, and then Condit, who kind of has the same weapons but is very, very calm in the way he fights, and sometimes he throws things. Fighters tend to it's mistaken for like, he kind of lures people in with how relaxed in the way he fights. It's kind of cool to watch. That's the way he's always fought. But he's had another guy who's had some wars down through the years, a great fighter to watch. Two absolute legends. It was good to see them. Good to see them in the co-main. I was happy to see that. We'll see where they go from here. Again, I don't know how much they have left, really. And to be honest, neither guy is going to really make a run for the title. But good fight. It was an enjoyable fight to watch, as always. See those two legends in there. And then moving on. I understand I'm skipping through all these fights a little bit, but I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about the main event, which is absolutely insane. For anybody that has not seen this fight, God, go home and watch it, and you'll see how good Max Holloway is. I had previously made an argument which I still stand by. People were looking for Max Holloway to fight Volkanovski for the third time, even though he had lost twice. I know, controversially, the second time people might have thought that Holloway won that fight, which is fair enough. I can understand that, but my argument was that, however way you want to call it controversial or not, that it's still 2-0 to Volkanovski. So to give Max Holloway the next shot, I thought was stupid, because even if he won that, still 2-1 to Volkanovski, so you got to run it back again until you got to do the fight 5 times, to really get what you're looking for out of it. But after today's fight, 100% Max Holloway has earned his shot back at Volkanovski. In all the fights Holloway's been in, before I even get into this, one thing I don't like is, I've seen it in the last while, you see it online, and I know there's always idiots online, stuff like that, but people have kind of been writing Max Holloway off because he lost to Volkanovski twice. A bit like people are writing Tony Ferguson off now because he's had a couple of losses. But, he's so underrated for how good he is. And I say all this before I watched today's fight. I think Max Holloway is so underrated for how good he is, for how tough he is, for how smart he is in the cage. But he took it to a completely different level today. Even he exploded even Max Holloway's level, and you hear it from the commentary team during the fights that he was just using so many different weapons. Honestly, he took it all of that division, even Volkanovski. I don't care who you are, you're all looking at Max Holloway. Kind of like shit. He's going to cause a problem. He's taking it to a new level. Whether it's a case of the Volkanovski fight made him do that, or whether I don't know. I know they were saying that he's kind of cut out sparring and things like that from his camp, which you do hear of a lot of fighters doing nowadays, kind of to save their health and things like that. And I also remember GSP, George St. Pierre, used to say that kind of before coming up to fights, obviously you train hard, maybe do a little bit of sparring in the early stages, but then coming up closer to the fight, you would cut everything down a little bit, slow it all down, maybe no sparring, and even slow the training itself down, just kind of level it out. And George St. Pierre used to say what it would do, he said it on The Ultimate Fighter when he was one of the coaches, that what it would do is it would have people, they would be ferocious, be like a dog pulling at the lead by the time they got in the cage. I don't know if that's the case with Max Holloway. I'm just saying about the no sparring thing. You do hear the benefits of that, but I can't even put into words how good he looked. Again, doing the podcast right after the fights. This is kind of why I do, because my reaction is more real than if I sit down and think about it. But the problem is I don't maybe think about it as much. But as of now, I cannot think of a better one-sided performance than that one. I know people can bring up maybe Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez when he won the title. McGregor beat him, and I'm sure he beat him well, and I'm sure there's plenty of other crazy knockouts people can pull up. But the thing with a knockout is you can get lucky, in the sense of you swing when they forget to duck, something like that. It can be called lucky. Not to say it never is lucky, because if the punch is thrown, it can't be lucky because they meant it. But the point I'm making is Max Holloway went 5 rounds tonight and completely controlled every fucking inch of that fight. Every inch of it. Calvin Kattar was throwing some shots. He caught Max once or twice to the point where kind of he never really stumbled or anything. We just caught him clean a couple of times, but Holloway just took it, kept going. But then his movement, like, he was always just out of the way of all of Calvin Kattar's shots, and I can't get over how good he looked. It was just unbelievable. One of the best performances I can ever remember in the UFC, in fighting in general. He just took. It's hard to believe that Max Holloway could go up another level, and he's still so young. That's the crazy thing. I think Max is only barely in his late 20s now. But for him to go up another level is insane, and to do it this way in a fight where there was a lot of pressure on him, because people were looking at Calvin Kattar as maybe the next wave, the next guy, to be a challenger and things like that. So Holloway's 29 years of age, so technically he's only really coming into his prime, which is madness. But yeah, just there was a moment in the fight. Again, if you haven't seen this, please go back and watch this fight. I'd imagine Max is going to get some serious bonuses for that too. Whether they can call that fight of the night, I'm not sure, because obviously it was pretty one-sided. But you have to give Calvin Kattar you have to give him props for his chin, for how many shots he took and just stayed on. There was a moment in the third round, I believe it was, second or third round, Holloway was just putting it on him with elbows, elbow after elbow, shots and uppercuts, everything. And Kattar was there, but he was wobbly on his feet, but he never went down, just took it and still firing back wild swings. And a couple of times he did catch Holloway, never really rocked him or anything. But Calvin Kattar's tough, and he's not going anywhere. He's going to still cause problems for a lot of people, but Max Holloway is the problem for everybody. And the other thing is, this shows you just how good Alex Volkanovski is, because he was never put under this kind of pressure from Holloway. He gave Holloway everything that Holloway gave him, but now maybe this is a new wave. Maybe Holloway has just hit another stride, possibly. I was going to say there's a point. There's so many points about this fight. One of them being his new weapons that Holloway was using, elbows being one of them, which he has thrown them, but it's like he was using them so much tonight. It's like it's a new part of his game, and he was using the oblique kick. The I don't know if it was his lead or his rear leg, but either way he was using the oblique kick to the front of Calvin Kattar's leg, which just slow him down. But it's just another weapon, and he was smashing records for the amount of shots he threw, for his output. And then round 5, he's barely breathing heavy. His cardio is unbelievable. But there was a point in the fight, I believe it was round 5, where Holloway was kind of talking over back to the commentary team while he's fighting, and he's looking. You see these. I believe it's in basketball, and I know it is in football. I think Ronaldinho made it famous, was the blind pass. So you look one way, pass it the other, and it's just it's more of a showboating kind of thing. I've never seen that never seen it done so well as what Holloway did today. He's looking over his shoulder, talking to DC, and he throws it right straight, catches Kattar clean, does that, still talking to DC, ducks out of the way of Kattar's return shot. Just unbelievable. I was, maybe if I sit down later and have a right think, I might think of some other performances as good as that, but I cannot remember a one-sided performance in a fight where, I believe Holloway was probably, I don't think he wouldn't have been the underdog, but a tough fight for him. This is not an easy fight. They didn't give him some nobody. Calvin Kattar's a problem for a lot of people in that division, and he's not going to go anywhere. Like I said, he's going to be there still causing problems for a lot of people. But Holloway looked like he was from another dimension compared to Calvin Kattar. Just unbelievably good. This fight is going to, and for people that don't know, this card was aired on ABC in America, which is, I don't know, it's like one of their big networks. It's a free card, where you didn't have to have like the UFC app or ESPN. You could watch it for free. You didn't have to pay for it. So that's got to bring Holloway's stock up massively, which his stock should have been up massively anyway. But I don't believe he gets enough credit for how good a fighter he is. But just it's rare that I am completely shocked by a good performance. You know, you see it every so often. That one has shocked me as to how good he looked. Especially because he's already looked so good, and now he's just shot up to a totally different level. Looks like he's got new weapons, and he's ferocious. One thing about Holloway is he's not. I don't want to say he's a slow starter, but he likes to kind of get reads on fighters as he goes. You know, he's very relaxed. He pressures you all the time, but he doesn't usually come out looking to kind of do damage and finish you. He was a lot more ferocious at the start of this fight. Yeah, just he was just more vicious, more. Max Holloway looked like he wanted to prove a point to everyone, and he did. Yeah, just a different level, man. Different level. Unbelievable. He is. I don't know. I know. T-City, Brian Ortega is the next guy in line, I believe, to fight Volkanovski. But 100%, without a doubt, Holloway has to go next. Then has to fight the winner. Be interesting to see if it is Volkanovski, because I've known their fights were always very close. Even the first fight was still pretty close. Second one, I can understand why people argued whether it was a robbery or not. I don't think so. I think it could have gone either way. But like, when you consider what Holloway had done to Ortega in their fight, again, super one-sided. I suppose that's an example of another one-sided fight, but I still think Holloway was on a different level today. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he does fight Volkanovski again. Yeah, crazy how good is Max Holloway. Unbelievable. I always made another argument that Jose Aldo, in my opinion, was the greatest featherweight ever. Still stand by that, but Max Holloway is going to overtake him. I believe if Holloway keeps performing like this, and if he manages to win the belt again, then you're easily looking at the greatest featherweight ever in Holloway. Insane. Again, I say it 100 times. If you have not seen this fight, go and watch it. See how fucking good Max Holloway is. Absolute beast. And like I'd said already, you know, let's not take it away from Calvin Kattar. Like, he was outclassed, completely outclassed, but not to the point where it was embarrassing at all. He still showed a serious toughness. He was still in the fight throughout the whole lot of it. There was a couple of moments there where maybe even the commentary team were thinking maybe this fight should be stopped, just for the sake of, you know, longevity and things like that. But he was never really, like, you know, on his back getting shots dropped down him or anything like that. He hadn't been dropped at all. But it's insane. She's super good performance. I believe Max Holloway broke a record. It's one of the, I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but I know one of the records was the most fights ever without being dropped. So I don't know how many fights it is, but it's an insane number. He's just he's I don't know. I don't know what to say. He's absolute class. That's all I can say. But again, a great thing which I'm quite happy about is the fact it was on free TV in America. I don't know, like, I have the UFC app. That's where I watch all the fights. So I don't know for everyone else around the world whether it was as easy to watch or whether you had to have a certain channel, or I don't know. I think ABC is just an American-based channel, but I really don't know. But yeah, the point I was making, let's say it is just North American or whatever, the fanfare that Holloway should get now. You know, there's maybe a few people who aren't totally interested in the UFC, but they came across this on free TV today. Yeah, hopefully he'll get the respect he deserves now. Madness, absolute madness what he done. Like, it'd be yeah, I can see it. Before this, I kind of would have thought, I always thought Holloway was, you know, the biggest challenge to Volkanovski. If I'm being honest, I've always thought he was still the biggest challenge, but I thought he might end up being just that little bit short. That, you know, sometimes fighters have this guy where they just can't beat, and it can always just be by a small margin, but it's just one of those people that they just have your number. But I don't know. After that fight, it's almost like Max Holloway is the champ now. It's almost like people have to go into his yard now, and it's him that's running that division. Which that's not to take it away from Volkanovski. You know, still a great fighter and still good enough to beat Holloway, especially with his wrestling. But damn, that was some performance. Yeah, it's just insane. And then he said in his interview afterwards that he's sticking around on Fight Island. And if any of the lightweights fall out of the fights next week, the lightweights being Poirier and McGregor or Michael Chandler or Dan Hooker, Holloway's willing to step in. I hope he doesn't. If I'm being honest, I really do. Chill out, train, and wait for your shot at the title. That's what you've earned. He has earned a shot at the title next. And who knows, maybe something will happen between Ortega and Folk. You know, Ortega could get injured or something would happen. You never know. Holloway could step in there. But if he retains that title, you're looking at the greatest featherweight. But he'll still have a task against Volkanovski. But that's definitely what he should get next. He should get the winner of that fight. Not 100% if they've announced that date. I can't remember if they've announced a date for Volkanovski and Ortega, but apparently that is the fight they're making. I just can't, for the life of me right now, I can't remember if they've made that date or not. But you got the Blessed Express waiting in the shadows for whoever is next. He is a motherfucking problem for anyone. Madness. Anyway, I'm going to get off that because I really cannot find the words to describe that performance. But go watch it if you haven't seen it. And start paying attention to Max Holloway, because he's going to be one of them fighters again. I think when he retires, that you're kind of going to realise how good he was, and maybe how some people didn't pay him enough respect or attention. And then you add on top of that, like, that he's such a good character, such a real, genuine character from what I see outside of the cage as well. So crazy. Absolutely crazy. I cannot say enough about that fight. I'm actually going to go back and watch it again after this just to really enjoy it even more. So I think in terms of today, that's all. I just see an MMA junkie here actually. That Max Holloway, I think, was given an extra bonus. Sorry, no. Oh yes, I think they gave Max Holloway performance of the night, but they gave Calvin Kattar an extra 50 grand as well, which is good. You know, he deserved that. You know, for the chin he showed. Sorry. Yeah, so performance of the night went to, there's a few performances of the night. Li Jingliang got one. Alessio Di Chirichio got one, and of course Max Holloway, and then they gave a bonus to Calvin Kattar as well. Yikes. Good. I'm glad they did that. You know, just on heart alone, he deserved that. But again, yeah, I'm going to move on because I can't, if I keep talking about Max Holloway, I'm a bit too on his nuts now at the moment. So I'm going to look forward to the next two fight cards. There's one on Wednesday, I believe. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Kind of a smaller card. It's a good main event. You got Michael Chiesa versus Neil Magny. I'll run down quickly through the card here just to tell you who's fighting. Yeah, so it's three fight cards in the space of 1 week, which is great. But you got the one today, obviously. Then you got this one, and then you got the small matter of Poirier versus McGregor. But this fight card on the prelims, what we got? Ricky Simone fighting Peretto. Yeah, it's a pretty small card, as they tend to do. But Roxanne Modafferi is fighting. Viviana Rujo. Marley Alvarez. Yeah, the main fight there really is like Michael Case versus Neil Magny is the one we'll be talking about. I see Case winning that pretty handily, to be honest. I know Neil Magny's problems in the past have been with grapplers, and Michael Case is the grappler of all grapplers. But Neil Magny's shown some good performances in the last few fights as well, so. But I still have, I see Michael Case being a dark horse in that division, which I have said before. He's going to cause problems for a lot of people, maybe even the champ eventually if he gets that shot, but see if he gets past Neil Magny first. So that is on Wednesday or Thursday New Zealand time. And then moving on to Sunday. Holy shit. You've got through the early prelims. Just going to run through this very quickly and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the big fights coming up. Yeah, so Nick Lentz versus Evloev. Sanchez versus Muradov. These are the early prelims. And on the prelims, you got Khalil Roundtree versus Marcin Prachnio. Juliana Pena versus Sarah McMahon. Brad Tavares versus Antonio Carlos Jr. Shoeface, I believe they call him. Then you got Armin. Hi, why do they always test me with these names? Armin Sarukian versus Nazrat Hakparast. Hakparast. That's the prelims, and then moving on to the main card. Yes. So you got Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. Matt Frivola versus Atman Azetar. Jessica Ai versus Joanne Calderwood. Good fight. And then you probably look like Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. It's going to be an absolutely insane fight. Really hoping Dan Hooker pulls that one off. I think he is, in his last few performances, he just deserves something. He deserves to get, whether it's a title shot eventually or something. I love that they're not giving Chandler any easy fights. God, what a motherfucker of a fight to welcome you to the UFC. Here's Dan Hooker, enjoy. It's a bad dude. It's going to be a great fight. I love that because it's kind of set up like a little tournament. You have obviously Poirier versus McGregor in the main, Dan Hooker versus Chandler in the co-main, and it's just kind of sets up who fights who next. I think. I know they announced on the fight card that Dana White had spoken to Khabib. It's kind of fucking irritating, to be honest, because like the big sit down that they talked about, and Dana White says, "Oh yeah, I sat down and spoke to Khabib," and basically he said he's going to see what happens with the fights next week. Like, so what was the point in the sit down then? See what happens with the fights and then have your sit down. It's stupid. But yeah, Khabib said he's going to sit around and have a look, see what happens with the fights next week, and if something excites him out of that, he might take it. I don't know. You're probably going to see, like all we're hearing is the talk of the GSP fight, which would be great to see, but I'll acknowledge that now when I hear a bit more about it, because again, why did Khabib and Dana sit down if that's all they're going to come out with is he wants to see what happens next week, then sit down after fucking next week. But anyway, on to the boys that are fighting. No disrespect to Khabib. He's a legend, obviously, but I hate that kind of, been so much talk the last while of Khabib coming back, not coming back, and then Dana's having the big sit down like a mafia family, Italian mafia meeting. Giving them an offer he can't refuse, but that's what they come out with. He's going to sit down and watch the fights next week. Great. Just fucking retire. Stay retired or don't, You're either in or out. Don't hold. He did say to Dana apparently that he's not going to hold up the division, that he's going to make a decision after next week, so hopefully he does that. If he retires, best of luck. If he's coming back, great. But on to the boys here and now. Yeah, God, I can't wait to see those two fights at the end next week. No idea who I'm. If I'm being honest, I watched some Michael Chandler fights. Very well-rounded fighter, good fighter. So it's a tough challenge for Dan Hooker as well. But I think Dan Hooker is going to give exactly the same. It's a problem for both. There's such hard fights to call too. And like the winners of all of these fights, they're going to just rise right up to the top of that division and get either their title shot or get whatever, or get each other for the title, whatever it may be. But you might see the two winners fight for the title. If Khabib is not coming back, or else fight for the, I don't know. But these are big fights, big fights. Not going to call any winners because I really don't know. But yeah, Poirier and McGregor again. It's a pick and fight. I do probably be a little bit biased, obviously, my fellow countryman, but I'd like to see McGregor win. Huge respect for Dustin Poirier as well, but I don't really ever bet against McGregor. I know some people, he's one of those people you either love or hate, but I'm a fan. I always have been. He's done a lot for martial arts in Ireland and the attention of it, and martial arts in general, mixed martial arts in general. But McGregor seems to be on a different kind of level. I was listening to him. He was on Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson. He was on their podcast yesterday, or no, a few days ago, but I watched it yesterday. And he sounds super confident. Just seems to be on a different level in terms. He seems to have his head in a good place. He's talking about his weight cut was really good, and he's super confident. Thinks he's going to finish him in 60 seconds. Who knows? You just never know with McGregor if he's, as people always joke about, motivated McGregor. But he was talking about like his kids and stuff like that. And you do hear people saying that when fighters have kids, they tend to reach another level. But you just wonder. There's always that question. A guy like McGregor is living quite comfortably. How hard is he training? But he looks good, looks in shape. And he was saying how he wants to be busy, like he wanted last year. But obviously things went against him. But he doesn't want this, fighting in January and then waiting a year to fight again. He said he doesn't want that. So very interesting. A lot of respect between the two this time as well, compared to the last time they fought. But older, more mature guys as well. So this is interesting. So it's going to be. You might expect to see two contenders for fight of the year here. Like if I had to make a prediction, I would say McGregor to get it done early, because I think later in the fight it's not going to be as easy for him. Like Poirier is a dog, absolute dog, and he would be like that for 5 rounds. With Hooker and Michael Chandler, I don't know. Like Chandler's good, but he's now in the UFC where, let's be honest, the level is a little bit better. I know he has fought some UFC fighters before in Bellator, like Eddie Alvarez, who's just in. Oh no, I don't know if he fought Gaethje, but he fought Alvarez a couple of times. So, that caliber of fighter he has fought. But yeah, this is interesting stuff. And again, like I've said before, that division is it's on fire. It's an on fire division. You've so many guys that couldn't climb those ranks, get a shot at Khabib, or a shot at the title itself if Khabib is not coming back. So yeah, this is brilliant. Some insane fights coming up this year, and the UFC are doing things right again. They started off today with a cracking card, cracking main event, and just exciting things coming up for the year ahead. Fans are back as well today. A little bittersweet. Not sure if I'm happy to see fans. I am happy to see fans back, don't get me wrong. It's good to see things hopefully heading back normal some way. I know we're a long way away from that, but it's nice to get a little bit of sense of normality. I'm not saying, obviously, I'm not against that, but I kind of preferred watching the UFC without fans. It was much better. But yeah, that's just how it is. They're back anyway. But no, great fight card. Listen, there's so much stuff coming up now over the next few months. Got some great fights, great fight cards, and the UFC kicked it off well again, and it's good to be back talking about fights again. Super happy. But yeah, that's it for today's podcast. Kind of all over Max Holloway's nuts, but if you've seen the fight, you'll understand why. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. Please keep liking and sharing, liking and subscribing, and whatever else you got to do. There is a lot more things coming. I've said that a million times, but it's true. always working on them, and still working on having some guests speak on the podcast as well, via Skype or I don't know, whatever we can use, Skype, Zoom, or I don't know, pigeons, but no, we will be getting guests on and stuff like that. But anyway, just keep supporting us, keep following us, keep liking us, all that, please. Some better things coming, and you will enjoy them. And thanks for listening in, and we'll see you probably you see the new podcast on Friday, probably uploaded maybe late Friday or on Saturday, depending on where in the world you are. But it'll be outside of the MMA realm, talking about some other things. What I'll be talking about, I don't know. That's what's going to be fun about it. It's going to be different things all the time, from music to to shoes to fucking the weather, whatever it is. But I'm tuning in to be a bit of fun, especially if some of you have had to suffer to listen to my MMA stuff if you're not a fan. But please tune in. Please subscribe. Please like. Please share. Please. Anyway, thank you. I'm out of here. Everyone stay safe, stay happy, wear your mask, all that stuff. Go grab that day. Peace.